Hey guys, I'm Matt Joseph Diaz, working with Privacy.com, and today, let's nerd it up a little bit. A lot. It's gonna be a lot. Things are about to get weird, guys. I've got my floral Batman tank top, I'm pretty sure we're good to go. So, comic books. I really didn't have a better segue for that, did I? I love comics. I've been reading them since I was a kid, and not just the ones with superheroes. But the thing about comics is, it can be kind of a boys' club. Now, don't get me wrong, if you like stories about straight white guys who save everything, comics are just the medium for you, along with movies and most TV shows. So let's take a moment today to try and shine a light on some awesome comics you might have never heard of. Let's talk about some fun and amazing stories that have some really strong female characters. These are my top 5 feminist comic book series. And let's start with number 5, Batwoman Elegy by Greg Rucka. Now, Greg Rucka is basically one of the greats when it comes to Batman stories. In 2006, they created Batwoman. Really original, I know, but we're starting here because who doesn't know Batman? Batwoman might not seem like a super original concept, but what they do with her is really amazing. There's a couple of openly gay characters in the DC universe, but Batwoman was actually the first to star in her own series. And it's a really important part of her character. Kate Kane, the titular Batwoman, was actually kicked out of the military because of don't ask, don't tell. She's estranged from her family, and her sexuality is a very important part of her life. But even though it's an important part of her character, it's not played off like a huge deal. She has love interests in the book. She has her kind of Lois Lane type character, but it's just seen as a romantic lead. She struggles with relationships with her family. She has a difficult time balancing being a superhero and trying to be a normal person. And above anything else, she just kind of kicks ass. Kate Kane is a really strong, resolved character who's obviously been through a lot, and she's very comfortable in who she is. And as far as it goes with introducing a gay character into that superhero universe, it's pretty normalized. Because if it's totally normal for like an evil clown to go around murdering everybody, or a guy to walk around with a giant freeze gun, or like telepathic gorillas, it shouldn't really be a huge deal who your partner's sleeping with. Oh no, this bank robber keeps making us answer riddles, and this guy is literally from the 5th dimension, but she's a lesbian, that's too weird. Batwoman Elegy is just a really great story. It's an awesome introduction for a new character, it's beautifully drawn, and overall the book is just fantastic. So go check it out. And now let's move on to number 4, Rat Queens. Dude, Rat Queens is fucking awesome. Rat Queens is a comic about a gang of all-girl mercenaries set in a Dungeons and Dragons style fantasy world. And these girls are just so hardcore. It's profane, it's violent, it's definitely not for children, but these girls are all badasses. I mean, first of all, the characters are all really diverse in terms of race in a fantasy sense. You know, you have your dwarf, your human, that kind of thing. Not only the characters diverse in terms of fantasy race, but body type as well. The characters are different heights, colors, some are more muscular or curvy than other ones. It normalizes LGBTQ relationships. One of the main characters is a lesbian, and it's just kind of a fact of the story. It's not played up to be edgy or weird or kitschy. A lot of the characters have one-night stands with men, but instead of being like intimidated or weirded out by how strong they are, the male characters are actually attracted to it. It shows them being in a world where their independence and their power and their brashness is respected. And Rat Queens has gotten so big as like a diverse feminist comic that even the merchandise inspired by it is like built for different body proportions. They actually have a wide variety of women's sizes, which doesn't really happen a lot. All things said, Rat Queens is just a great comic. The characters are fun, the violence is crazy, the art is awesome, and it's just all in all kind of magical. It's so cliche, isn't it? Oh, this fantasy story is quite magical. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Our number 3 pick is Lumberjanes. Because Lumberjanes is a very, very special series. Lumberjanes has been described by a lot of people as like Adventure Time meets The Goonies meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And honestly, it's a pretty accurate description. First of all, Lumberjanes has basically an all-female cast and an all-female writing team. In a lot of ways, it was actually inspired by the frustration with the lack of women in comics. Basically, the story revolves around a group of girls called the Lumberjane Scouts who are staying at a summer camp where a bunch of weird supernatural shit starts happening. It's pretty easy to see where the Adventure Time stuff comes in. The artwork is very colorful, the characters are very unique looking and expressive, and the Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing totally describes the feel of the supernatural stuff happening in this world. But what's really important is that weird little Goonies factor in there. It's a coming-of-age story. These characters are all very young and they're all very different. It's a book for kids, but it normalizes queer relationships. It introduces some queer characters who are very different from each other. Some characters are more masculine, some are more feminine, and they're all allowed to be themselves. Not only is this comic really fun and really good, it's also really important. It's a book you could give to a little girl. And yeah, it's a comic, but it shows characters of so many different personality types, and it says, yes, these are all valid. These girls are all normal people. It could help a girl who isn't traditionally feminine feel more valid in her identity. It could even help a girl who is more feminine feel like she's still capable of being strong. Lumberjanes is just fantastic. Honestly, all these series are. Like, I'm just putting Amazon links down here in case you want to buy any of these, because they're all super dope. And now we're on to number 2, Sex Criminals. Oh man, what do I say about Sex Criminals? Chip Zdarsky is one of the funniest comic writers currently working in the business. He's actually worked on Howard the Duck recently, and it's fantastic. Sex Criminals is a story about love and about sexuality and about sincerity, and also the two main characters can stop time when they have orgasms, and they decide to use this to rob a bank to save the library the girl works at. No, it's pretty weird. I was having having a lot of trouble choosing between this and Lumberjanes because they kind of share a lot of the same themes of why I like them so much. The power in the stories is the way they kind of normalize this relationship, even though it's so weird. The first issue is basically a flashback to the main character learning about like sex and sexuality, and that her body's changing and that it's normal in some ways and very not normal in other ways. And then she finds this guy who can also stop time, and they start forging this relationship. But the way they paint this romantic interaction between these two people, the strength of the main character and what she believes in, and how she's allowed to be like a human being with a complicated and strong sexual identity, is something that's very underplayed in comics. Because, you know, we normally don't talk about what happens to Superman after he takes off the red underwear, you know what I mean? It's just a really well done, funny, artful book that's really, really crazy, but shows a very rewarding relationship. And honestly, it's just a lot of fun, so check it out. Now, finally, for my pick for #1 feminist comic series, Miss Marvel. Now, I love Miss Marvel so much. Now, don't get me wrong, Miss Marvel has been a thing for a long time. I'm specifically talking about the new Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. Honestly, I believe Kamala Khan might be like one of the best new superheroes Marvel or DC has made in the past 10 years. Kamala Khan is a 16-year-old girl who's going to school and becomes Miss Marvel. And yeah, obviously the whole struggling to be a teenager while also a superhero thing is something Spider-Man covered pretty well. But first of all, it takes place in modern day. And second of all, Kamala Khan is a 16-year-old girl of Muslim heritage. And that's not something that's downplayed just for her to be a person of color. Her Muslim heritage is actually a very important part of the story. And from personal experience, I can't tell you how important representation is. I'm a Hispanic kid from Brooklyn. I grew up reading comics like Captain America and Spider-Man and Daredevil, who were all young guys growing up in New York, but they were all white guys. And that might not seem like a big deal to you, but to me, as a kid, I formed this association that like superheroes were white guys. I didn't really have that kind of representation. There weren't really a lot of Hispanic superheroes around. And I remember a few years ago, my nephew was like 5 years old, and I showed him an Ultimate Spider-Man comic. Miles Morales is biracial. He's black and Hispanic. And I got to see the look on my nephew's face when he flipped the page and he saw Spider-Man take his mask off, and Spider-Man looked like him. Representation is important because in the most formative times of our life, we need to be able to believe that we can do anything. And as small as it might be, seeing a superhero who looks like you makes you think maybe one day I can do something great too. It motivates you. And I'm so glad we live in an age now where there's more diverse comics. I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. One of my favorite things about Ms. Marvel is the fact that she's a teenager who grew up in a world full of superheroes. So Ms. Marvel is a superhero who's also a nerd about superheroes. There's a couple scenes where she's saved by Spider-Man or fights Wolverine, and she's like, wait, you're Spider-Man. And I love that because it's so relatable. Because if I was a superhero, I'd be like, hey guys, like I know Ultron's about to crush all of us, but like, you're Captain America. That's fucking dope. Ms. Marvel's one of my favorite comics in the past couple years. It's colorful and bright. Her powers are awesome. She's a strong character. She fits in the universe so well. They invented a character like this and didn't have to force her in. It feels natural. And if you're gonna read any of these, please just check that one out. Well guys, that's all for now. If you're interested in any of these comics, I've linked to them down here. You can go check them out, maybe buy them if you want. That sounds like a sponsorship thing, but I'm not making any money off of this, so like, I just want you to check them out. I'm so glad I get to talk about this kind of stuff. YouTube fucking rules. What do you guys think? Are there any important series that I might have passed up on? Is there anything you might want me to cover in like a top 5 or talk about in another video? I'm gonna be doing them like 2 weeks, like maybe a top 5 and then a more normal video. So any ideas, any topics you have, leave them down there. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Follow me on Instagram at MattJosephDiaz, Tumblr, Twitter, all at MattJosephDiaz. Of course, check out Ravishly.com where you can find a bunch of really great articles, including stuff I've written. I'll link to it down there. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I really love talking about this stuff with you, and yeah, have a good one.